All right, let's be honest for a second. For a lot of top executives, the word compliance just sounds like a headache, right? A burden. But what if we could flip that script? What if compliance could actually be a massive strategic asset? That's what we're digging into today. We're talking about how to move your company from just ticking boxes on a checklist to actually having a winning playbook.
So I want you to really think about your own organization for a minute. When that word compliance comes up, what's the gut reaction? Is it this frantic, last-minute scramble to check a box before an audit? Or is it something totally different? A finely tuned system that genuinely makes the business stronger? The gap between those two feelings, well, that's pretty much everything we're going to cover.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll tackle the problem head on. Then, we'll lay out a new strategic vision. After that, we'll get into the actual tools you need, what the CXO's role is in all this, and of course, the big payoff at the end. It's a really clear path from, compliance to, wow, this is a huge advantage. All right, first up, the compliance checklist problem. This should sound familiar to a lot of you. It's that old school approach that honestly just leaves teams feeling frustrated, disconnected, and frankly, pretty exposed. So, on the left, you've got the old way. And I bet this looks pretty familiar, right? You have departments that don't talk to each other, everything's siloed, and compliance feels like a constant fire drill. But on the right, that's where we want to be, the new way. It's integrated, it's aligned, and it is proactive. This is the whole point, really, to stop treating compliance like a chore and start using it as a strategic tool that actually makes your company tougher. Okay, so how in the world do we get from the left side to the right side of that chart? Well, that brings us to our second section, building a whole new strategic vision. The core idea here is a framework called integrated functional accountability. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but it's specifically designed to tear down those silos. So what is it really? The concept is actually pretty simple. You're embedding accountability directly into each business function. So HR owns its own compliance, the tech team owns theirs, finance owns theirs, you get the picture. But, and this is the absolute key, it is not siloed. Every single one of those functions has to tie its protocols back to the company's main governance framework. This way, everybody is finally rowing in the same direction. And you can see, this is a huge cultural shift. It's fundamental. We're moving away from that last-minute panic before an audit. Instead, compliance becomes this living practice. It's institutionalized. It's just part of the normal rhythm of how you do business. Okay, that all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually make it happen? That's what Section 3 is all about. We're diving into the accountability toolkit, the actual practical tools that make this whole vision a reality. The real nuts and bolts of the system boil down to two key documents, playbooks and runbooks. Here's the easiest way to think about it. The playbook is your strategy. It's the what and the why. What do we do in this situation and why are we doing it? It lays out who's in charge of what and the different paths for making decisions. The runbook, on the other hand, is all tactics. It's the how. It's a literal checklist of precise steps to follow so that your response is fast and consistent every single time. Let's make this real. Imagine this scenario. A big regulatory change just dropped in your industry. Boom! Instead of mass panic, your team pulls out the playbook. Instantly, they know the strategy, they know who's responsible for what. Then they open the corresponding runbook and just execute the steps. What you get is a calm, consistent, and super effective response. No chaos. Now, a system this powerful doesn't just run on its own. It absolutely requires leadership. And that's what Section 4 is all about, the critical role of the CXO, who acts as the orchestrator for this whole thing. I love this metaphor because it's just perfect. The CXO isn't down in the weeds playing every instrument. No way. They're the conductor of the whole symphony. Their job is to make sure every single function, HR, finance, tech, is playing its part in perfect harmony so the whole enterprise sounds amazing. So what does that conducting actually look like in practice? Well, it means you're linking the metrics from each department directly to the company's overall accountability goals. It means creating radical transparency so everyone can see the big picture. It's about making sure every team truly owns its responsibilities. And this is so important. It's about being able to clearly show the board and your investors exactly how this system is protecting the company's value. And that brings us to the grand finale, the payoff. I mean, why go through all this trouble? Because getting this right pays off in a huge, huge way.
It really boils down to two massive benefits: building trust and strengthening your resilience.
First up, enhanced trust. This is a big one. Think about it. When your board, your investors, even the regulators can see that you have a clear, transparent, repeatable system, their confidence in you just skyrockets. You're not just saying you're accountable anymore, you're actually proving it. Second, you build some serious resilience. Look, a crisis is gonna hit eventually. It's not if, it's when. And when it does, a prepared organization doesn't fall apart. Because your teams have their playbooks and runbooks ready to go, they know exactly what to do. They turn a potential catastrophe into just a manageable event. And that leads to the final critical benefit. This whole thing safeguards your enterprise value. See, proactive compliance isn't a cost center. It's a powerful investment. It protects your reputation, it helps you avoid massive fines, and it proves to the entire market that your company is built on a rock-solid foundation. So, what have you created at the end of the day? You've built a powerful, unified story for your company. Accountability isn't just some boring policy anymore. It's the engine that actually builds trust. And that trust, that's what guarantees your company's long-term sustainability and value. It's a beautiful system, really. They all feed into each other, creating this powerful, positive cycle.
So I'll leave you with this final thought to take back to your own teams. Take a hard look at how your business really operates. Is everyone just off in their own corner playing their own instrument, completely isolated? Or are you all part of a single, coordinated symphony led by a clear vision? Because that, right there, is the difference between simply doing compliance and actually leading with it.